Well, hello, hello, hello. Think I got everything working here. Uh, little repeat there. How's everybody today? Uh, I'm recovered here. Finally, we've eliminated the COVID monster here in our home. And we're all back to normalcy here. Working on a few things here. I have to tell you, uh, this this retirement is not working at all. I'm continuing to get business almost every day, and problems cropping up that I never anticipated. Today, I just had a client right before we started here whose website all of a sudden went down. And I'm going to have to figure out why that happened in just a few minutes after we're done here. Let's see. It looks pretty bright there. That's a little bit better. So, we do have a guest going to join us here in a little bit. Actually, a younger old fart, but he's probably one of the noted and FPV experts in the world out there, and I know he's been on shows from all over the world, a lot in the UK, and a lot here in the United States. And we've connected at various times, but this is going to be his first show on old farts, and so that will be coming up. So as you can see, I have our page up on the screen here, and I have to tell you, I am just fascinated more and more and more about seeing such wonderful stuff that people are posting. So I mean, I know we only have a few people here at the moment, but I'm going to I want to kind of breeze through some of this that I'm seeing here, and share this with everyone. Now, my page probably looks a little bit different because I have all of this administration tools over here that I see when I look at the group, but that's okay. Some silly comments here and things like that, and then here, for example, is somebody saying, "I can't wait and fly until after work. It's killing me." Here, I think we can all understand that. Here is. I thought this was a great top down. This is a maze. I think it's corn. Was corn, and they cut the corn down, and I'm totally impressed here how they actually put in words here. Proud Illinois farm family. They're in Malta, Illinois. And here is actually a map of the state of Illinois. I'm really impressed by that. And we are the 96%. I have no clue what that means, but I'm very impressed with a corn maze like this, and then that they took the time to post to do a video and shoot it from the air and then post it on there. Another shirt here that I like. And so, I mean, here's, I'm just kind of reviewing for a few people here, just some of the wonderful, wonderful stuff that our group, the senior citizens, most of us amateurs with drones are blasting out here and seeing such amazing, wonderful stuff. Steve Anderson, he's in Carthage, New York, and I mean he impresses me nearly every day. This was yesterday in Carthage, New York, and just fascinating. And here's Jerry Husky. He's in Virginia. Another just shots that you can't get from a regular camera. Here's Jeff Hallberry was the Drone Ohio. He has given us a tremendous amount of just wonderful, wonderful images. And here's somebody old farts while they're waiting for the next drone to arrive, following the FedEx truck. I like that. Here's another one from Steve Anderson. I mean, it is rare when you get to see the sky that looks like this, and then you get to see it from 200, 300 feet. And next, here we've got, under this bridge here, just here. And Bill Swenson, and he's in Scotland. This is some beautiful area. It looks like some just plowed fields from Scotland. Here's another maze. So we're having just quite a variety of stuff. I did this last Halloween. I have a ghost ready to fly under my drone, and I'm going to do that again this Halloween. And Kevin Welland, he does some of the most beautiful shots in some of the most picturesque places. A lot of hieroglyphics and a variety of other stuff here, but just wonderful stuff. So I just kind of wanted to take a minute here and showcase, what you can see on Old Farts with Drones here. Just a beautiful, beautiful stuff, that we're getting to see from our members. Here we go. This was taken early 2019 outside of Moab, Utah, waiting for vehicles. Gives you an idea of the perspective of that. Just amazing there. So I want to bring in my first guest there. As I mentioned before, one of our FPV expertise here. And first time I think he's actually been on the show. But so let me drop this out, and let's bring in John Cuppi. Hi, John.
Hey, Bob, how are you? Thanks for having me. And I'm very humbled by that introduction you gave me. Really appreciate it.
Really anytime I've ever had any, somebody saying, I've got a question about FPV, or I got it, I always refer them back to you.
I appreciate that. I do my best. I wouldn't consider myself an expert. There's always something new to learn. It's almost impossible in a sense to be an expert in this area, but I do try my best.
No, there's always something new to learn. I mean, and I think if you're gotten to be an old fart and you're enjoying life because you understand there is always something new to learn. It's never ending, right?
Absolutely. No, there's always something to learn in this space. Always something.
Good. So let me ask you some questions.
Sure.
I'm having some problem, and I'm not quite crossed the FPV fence yet.
Mm-hmm.
but I am flying a Mini 3 Pro with the Integra goggles and the Motion 2 controller.
How do you like that experience?
My problem is taking off and landing. How do you do that with goggles on?
So that's actually a really good question. It is difficult to land, right? And I'm guessing because you can't see the ground. Is that the thing? Like you can't tilt the camera enough to see the ground. Well, I guess there's a few things that you could do, especially because the Mini will hover in place. You could pop your goggles off and then just land it like that.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what I would do. One of the things about the traditional FPV drones is I kind of don't worry too much about getting dirt and whatnot in them. If my props touch a little rock or something on the ground, I'm not freaking out about it. But with the camera birds, I would probably be a little more cautious about that. So honestly, the best thing that I can think of would be to take the goggles off and just land it like that.
I see.
I guess you can't get enough camera tilt. Well, no, you could look down,
can look
right?
Straight down. I mean, I haven't quite figured all that out yet. I mean, if I had a controller in my hand, no problem.
That's the other thing too. Yeah, because it only works
this Motion 2 controller. I'm still trying to learn this. I know I'm out in left field here at the moment.
Yeah, I forgot that you have to use that Motion 2. You can't use can you use the stick controller or no? Is it only motion?
Yeah, you can, but I'm sure that if you crashed it, they wouldn't cover anything because you immediately get a notice on your screen saying, this controller is not supported or something like that.
Oh, okay. So it's
you get an error message, which I'm sure is going into the flight log.
Gotcha.
The error message. Because you can take the regular RC controller, start the drone up with that, then put the goggles on and turn them on, and then the image gets into the goggles. And then you can fly with the RC controller but seeing the image in the goggles. But again, it gives you this error message, which I'm pretty sure that's being recorded in the flight log. And if you were to damage something there, they're not covering it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the different details with DJI's current warranties and all that, but it sounds like it would be a safe bet to not bind that device and try to use it, if you'd be worried about something like that. Yeah. Landing is weird, like I said, in the goggles. It's even more of a challenge, I guess, with the traditional stuff because you can't look downward, right? Like there is no, say, adjusting the camera on this one. It's slightly tilted up. So you just kind of got to guess where you are and then land it like that. It took me a while to learn to, land without crashing, without putting it down somewhere that it shouldn't.
So is it just repetitive task here? I mean, I've seen people with goggles on, with traditional FPV goggles, hold out their hand and land it in their hand.
Yeah, I've never landed an FPV drone in my hand that wasn't like a little tiny whoop. I won't do that. But I mean, with the 5-inch stuff, the 3.5-inch. Pretty much it just ends up being muscle memory, and also you kind of get an idea like the ground is about here. You start to do that. Also in the area too, visual cues will help you land as well. It's just something you acquire over time the more you do it.
Right, and you're throwing the throttle. You're bringing the throttle down because it's not like the throttle snaps back into the middle like it does when you're flying a camera drone.
Right.
You're slowing that motors down to land. Is that correct?
Yo, yeah. You've got to, you absolutely do that. Yep. You drop that throttle and you just kind of try to come down and then disarm. I usually will disarm kind of just before I get on the ground, because otherwise you can get this weird
softly.
Well, you can get this weird prop wash effect. If you bump the ground too hard, it can cause the flight controller to get a little confused, and you'll kind of get this hopping effect, like, if that makes any sense. Like, so I try to just shut off right before I land on the ground. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Did John Cuppi have 40 birthdays in a row in the last month? I've got toenails older than him.
That's a good one. That was a good one. I saw that before.
That's Warren there. I'm still working on Warren. I want you to come on the show here. We will get you on here eventually. So tell me, did you? At heart. Yes. Did you start off with camera drones at all?
Oh yes.
Or did you just?
I started off with camera drones. That was my first entry into the hobby. I actually bought a toy grade camera drone, the SEMA X5C. Some people will be familiar with that. I actually still have that drone. And that was and it had a little camera on the bottom of it. There was no app. There's no GPS. It didn't even it didn't even have altitude hold, but it did have self-leveling. So that's the quad I basically learned to fly on. And then I ended up losing that. And from there, I was like, I knew this is what I wanted to do. So I ended up buying my first camera drone, and the rest is history. And believe it or not, my first camera drone was not DJI.
What was it?
It was called the Blade 350QX. It was by a company here in the United States called Horizon Hobbies. They're right out of Illinois. And and that was my first drone. And part of the reason I picked that drone is because I wanted an unrestricted drone, and I wanted good customer service and support, because at the time, DJI's customer service is nothing like it is today. Like,
right. I understand that.
In the very beginning,
how many years back was this?
Yeah. Oh goodness, this would have been 2015. 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was the year I bought my first real camera bird with a gimbal, and you'd put the GoPro in it and all that stuff. Yeah, we would actually take a GoPro, put it in the gimbal. That's what we were doing at the time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted a company that wasn't restricting me with geo zones, because that was just about starting at that time. People were starting to have the talk about the geo system with DJI's quads. And I wanted good customer support, because with Horizon, you pick up the phone, like somebody answers you immediately. So those were the things that were important to me at the time. And DJI was notorious for crappy customer service back then. It's amazing how different it is today. Like, dealing with them today, you just call up, whatever happened to your stuff, you send it out. Most people have like a 1 week turnaround for DJI care.
Typically, yeah. Especially if you agree to their express purpose, where they'll bill your credit card until, and then hold it until they get your broken drone back.
Right.
I mean,
they just send a new one right out.
Yeah. I've heard of people getting a drone returned to them in 3 days, from the time they wreck one and they get another, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's totally different compared to the way it was in 2015, 2016. DJI changed a lot of things. And
and I tell you, I think that's part of their success, is that, they became known for great customer service.
Yes. And which is funny, going back to that, because I remember the time when they were notoriously horrible at customer service. Just trying to get somebody to answer you was a huge hassle. And then if you could get a replacement, you might be waiting a while for it. But yeah, things are so different now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think they took a cue from Apple. I know in my, I've been a Apple fanboy since 1981. Here is when I got my first Apple computer, and I mean, even well, not so much then, but I mean, we've all had broken Apple phones, and you walk into the store, 99% of the time you walk out with a brand new phone. They just don't mess around with you, and they just and so that confidence, I think, leads everybody to say, well, I'm not going to buy another brand, if that's the way they're going to help me. So, and I think that DJI has gotten to that point where they feel, I have no problem recommending people to use the Care Refresh. If you're gonna have a drone, I mean, you're gonna crash it.
Oh yeah, True? I always get the Care Refresh for the first year, but then after that I tend to not renew it.
Yeah.
Mainly I get that Care Refresh because I know that if anything happens in that first year, I've got a general rule with electronics. If there's something wrong with electronics, in my experience, you're going to have a problem within that first 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Past that, unless it's self-inflicted, it'll probably last you a long time. So I get that Care Refresh for the first year, and then after that, I'm like, I'll just take the chance that I'm not going to crash it or whatever. And so far, that has worked for me.
Yeah, so far, but you've got a year of using it for, and confidently, and you might be able to take a little more risk. I am. When I know I've got Care Refresh on that,
yes,
I'm willing to take a little extra, if I lose it, I lose it,
yeah. You would probably be flying like a Mini 2 through the minefield or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah,
man.
that was
wild.
Yeah. Did you go to Minefield this year?
I did. Yep, I did.
Yeah,
Ken Herron's Minefield was a fun event for everybody. Yeah, we all it's people say it's more of an FPV event, and in some ways it is, but there's still plenty of great views that you could get there with camera birds, and just meeting everybody was really, really cool too.
Yeah,
just an overall fun event.
I had a conversation this week with one of our members. I don't know if you're familiar with Kevin Tolley. He's been a moderator of the group on the Facebook group of Old Farts with Drones.
Okay.
And Kevin is, a retired police officer, retired corrections officer, and has a large piece of property in North Florida, and he started with a Mini 1, I believe, went to a Mini 2 and a Mini 3, and I think he got an Air 2S, and he went, and he's flying acro on traditional FPV drones, and he's a senior citizen too. And I'm just so impressed that he made this jump, from the security of flying a camera drone to the bizarre difference of flying acro.
Yeah, but Bob, you know what? It's all honestly, I really feel it's all in a few different things. Number one, it's stick time. And to me, that starts by getting on the simulator and just going nuts, because you can crash as many times in the simulator as you want, and it's not going to cost you a dime, and nothing's going to happen. So you'll start to build that muscle memory just in the simulator. And then after that, you got to find a drone that you're going to feel confident. And this kind of goes back to, you say you're confident having DJI Care, but confidence in FPV means a few things. Number one, having a sound craft setup where you've got good video, everything, it flies nice as it is. You don't have any issues there, right? I see some people struggle with their setups, like they have bad video or whatever. If your craft is good to go, then that's the second step. The third one is being able to repair it, not being afraid that if you do crash or something happens, you can fix it. And that's probably the hardest part to get to for some people, because obviously there's still a huge technical hurdle toward getting into FPV and staying into FPV. Because sad to say, there are a lot of people who they'll go out, they'll buy a bind and fly, they'll get everything all set up, and then they'll have their first crash, and they'll just freeze because they don't know what to do next. They don't know. They don't have the skills to solder to replace the motor, even though that's a very trivial thing. But I remember back when soldering to me was a monumentally big deal. I didn't want to solder at all. I just saw it and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't melt these wires to this thing. I'm going to screw this up. Half of that is just having the right tools. If you don't have the right tools, and it's so easy to buy the wrong stuff, really, really easy to buy the wrong stuff. Yeah. Luckily, there's tons of videos out there today.
Instruction book.
No, there isn't usually an instruction book that's going to tell you literally everything that you need to know, right? FPV could fit into a course. It could literally fit into a multi-level college course on everything that you need to be doing. Like, for the soldering, for example, no, you don't go out and buy a Weller soldering iron from Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever else
for $12.
Right. Well, you can get some fair price soldering irons, but either way, you don't go and do that. That was one of the mistakes that I made, just using an iron that was not sufficient. Using the wrong solder. It's so easy to just think, oh, I can use any solder I've got in my garage. No, you can't. You got to use a specific blend of solder if you want to have a good experience. There's all sorts of stuff like that. But that's the best way to graduate, to be able to fly that way and anybody can do it, but you got to do the steps beforehand, I think, in order to have that kind of success. Yeah, which he probably did.
Yep. When I was a youngster, I'm pasting in for everybody that's watching. I'm pasting in the StreamYard link into the chat here. Good. If anybody else wants to jump in here. But when I was a youngster, my father and I, we built Heathkit radios, and I learned how to solder, then. But I probably haven't touched a soldering iron in 30 years, easily, and so I mean, I would be totally fish out of water, sitting down and looking at a circuit board and saying, I got to take this wire and put it on that terminal, that's it's true. And then this whole thing with Betaflight. Binding it and going through all of the what you're actually what this switch does to what that switch does, I
can't tell you how many people I help with just binding all the time, because people can't get their drone bound to their radio because there's different processes, and if you don't have firmware set correctly on the drone and the radio, then it's not going to bind. Or if you don't have the right, modes or rates, like binding, it's actually kind of sad, because binding is so easy today, but it's also hard at the same time. And I don't even know how to explain that.
It's not just pushing a button and waiting for it to beep at you.
Yeah, no, it's not just pushing a button, and waiting for it to. I mean, for some setups it is, and some it's not. But yeah, you can have a receiver bound, but like you were saying, just having a receiver bound doesn't mean that it's going to still not going to communicate with the drone. You have to program in Betaflight. Oh, this switch on the controller does this. This switch on the controller does that. Like, you've got to tell the drone where the switches are and what to do with that.
Okay.
It's not like the Avata where, hey, you put that controller into binding mode, it pairs, boom, you're ready to fly.
Yeah. Right. You can take it out of the box and go outside and fly it.
Right.
You know, it's not the same.
It's not the same, but it's so freeing. I got to tell you, it's so freeing to have a setup that is independent of, say, a closed ecosystem like DJI. I mean, you to have a transmitter or a controller that you just bind to any drone that you want. Once you know how to do that, it's amazing what that unlocks. What opportunities that unlocks for you.
Yeah. So John, do you have any videos currently queued up that you would like to show here? I'd love to see some of your current work here.
Oh, gee. I don't have anything specifically, but I could pull up.
Pull up something.
I'll pull up my Minefield, a video that I did using a tiny loop at Minefield here. We'll play that.
Okay, really real good.
Proud of that flight.
Yeah, just bring it up. And Dray, I see you in the back room here. And let's watch John's video, and then I want to bring you in. Okay, Dray? Everybody knows Recovery One Drones. You know, Dray Crawford, who's in the kind of the Southern California area and the Inland Empire there, and where he lives near all of my relatives there. I have multiple people in that neighborhood that I love and trust. Here we go. Here's John's video.
I think this should work. Yeah.
Minefield.
So this is all being done with a tiny whoop, just so you know, a little drone of about
little drone like that.
Little drone about that side. So here we go.
Okay. Yep.
That part was scary.
No fear going into a drain pipe like that.
A little bit of fear. That took a lot to work up to. But no, this is Minefield. This is so much fun to fly in. Absolutely so much fun.
And all of this was constructed just for drones to fly through it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
No.
There's no purpose in these structures.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is just all for drone guys.
Yes.
You have to go through the fire tower at least once. At least once. Tell you what, you notice there's no actual complete steps in the fire tower there. So if you get stuck up there, that's it. You just got to go get it. That was that short little clip.
And you're flying there with multiple other people flying at the same time. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. It had quieted down a little bit at that point, but yeah, we had anywhere between 5 to 8 pilots in the air at once.
Totally crazy. Well, thanks, John. Oh, that's great. Hang out here. I want to bring in Dray. Hello, Mr. Crawford.
Well, hello. Howdy, Bob, and howdy, John.
Yes. As I don't know if all of you know, but Dray and I share the same birthday.
Yes, we do.
We have celebrated together apart. You know, we are brothers from other mothers here. Yep. But how are you today?
I'm doing great, but I just want to take a quick second. I think I owe Mr. Cuppi an apology.
Oh no!
What happened?
It was maybe sometime last year, and I gave John a hard time on one of the shows he was on, and ever since then I always felt like John's been dodging me, afraid I'm gonna come after him. But I say, John, I was just giving you some good ribbing. I don't have no ill will or ill intentions towards you. I respect you to the utmost because of your knowledge in the FPV community. But I didn't want you to ever think that I had an axe to grind with you or anything else, that you have to leave a show or anything because I show up.
Oh, good.
You know, Dre, I really appreciate that. I'm going to be completely and totally honest with you. I have no idea what you're talking about. I literally have no idea what you're talking about. So you are all good, man. You are all good.
Well, I appreciate that in return. I just want to make sure sometimes we rib each other a bit, and sometimes we don't understand where people may be at that point in life and time, and they may not receive it in the same manner. So I just want to make sure that you and I are on good terms and professional wise and friends wise and everything else. That is not beneath me to admit I'm wrong or I apologize.
We are totally on good terms, man. Totally on good terms. Like I said, I don't even recall what I don't even recall what show that was or what happened, but whatever it is, we are totally cool, man.
Oh, that is so good.
I'm actually kind of glad you brought this up because I'm gonna go make my wife some tea because she is sick. I'm not leaving to dodge you because you came on. All right, so I'm gonna go do that and I'm gonna come back. So not dodging, good. Just making some tea real quick for her.
Okay,
I'll be back. So
all right, John. When you come back, I'll bring you back in. Okay. All right. Dre, like I was saying, you know, I have a lot of my family are in Chino Hills.
Okay.
Which is near in your neighborhood. And then I have people who I truly regard as family that are in Riverside area there.
Yeah.
And I know you're you're in San Bernardino, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Yeah. And so I mean, I know that's all in the general area there. And I've my brother-in-law who lives in Chino Hills is now working for Fry Sky. I think I'm saying that right. The controller company that makes a lot of fixed wing aircraft controllers.
Oh,
and he's traveling the United States every day, going to different dealers and meets and representing that company.
Great.
So his name is Steve Schlesinger. So I don't know if you ever encounter, he's a tall guy, much taller than me. And but if you ever encounter him, that's my brother-in-law.
Good deal. Good deal. Maybe I'll catch you in one of the few expos we have in this area. You would think with the ties to DJI warehouses we have here and other resellers in Southern California, we would have more drone expos in this area for people to go to, because I mean Southern California itself has always been a mecca for technology over the decades, and I would think that this would be a hotbed, especially with the weather we have out here. For as you can fly year round, we don't have this day spring and summer. You know, like Vegas, you can fly almost year round in Vegas without much issue and stuff. So I'm really shocked that there's not much more going on out in this area. So I always try to make myself available where possible. And I really do, not that I'm upset, but I really want to be at the one in Vegas just a month ago. The expo up there.
Commercial UAV Expo.
I even had my ticket. I even had a ticket already, but my wife couldn't call off because school just started. She's an educator, and they didn't want anybody taking any extensive time off. So I said, well, you know how it is. You travel with your wife, and I try to travel with mine. And just like I see Captain Ray Kelly, he travels with his wife quite a bit. So sometimes you have to say, you know what? If I can't bring the missus, maybe it's not meant for me to go.
Yeah, I understand. I just had a heart-to-heart conversation with my wife about we're traveling if the first week of November. We're going to Kenya.
Oh, wow.
And we are participating in a organized 8-day safari, traveling around in different spots in Kenya there. And, I wanted to bring my drone. really bad. And I have been spending probably too much time trying to check it out. And I've gotten a drone school wrote me back. And I'm going to probably have maybe a day and a half that I would have available to do that. And it would probably cost me about $2,000 to fly a Mini 3 in Kenya because of I'd have to get a license, which is like $200-300. You have to pay to have a local person observe you. You have to. I mean, it was just there was way too much steps.
Yeah. Well, the main is let you know how we should appreciate the availability we have here and wherever else people may be at our disposal to kind of go up and fly at will, whatever time of day we want. And a few little hurdles that we have to jump through, getting Lance approval or anything else, is nothing compared to what you go through in some other countries.
Oh yeah, minor. I mean, they're protecting the wildlife of that country, which is one of their major assets of the country. Is tourism there, and it's it's one of their high priorities. And so I'm going to take a Pocket 2 and maybe a Pocket 3 if it comes out before we go. And I'm going to do as much as I can with that.
Yeah.
So tell me.
I was going to say, get you a selfie stick and get your phone or a pocket cam and get you some drone shots.
Yes, exactly what I got. I've got an Osmo 5 that I can hook a phone onto, and it's got a selfie stick thing on it. And I have a Pocket 2 at the moment, and so I think that's what I'm going to wind up doing there. So tell me about you. You're for people that don't know, you have a commercial business flying drones. Recovery One Drones is a going concern in the Southern California area. I know you're doing a lot of mapping and construction drone videos. How did that happen? How did you get started? Tell us a little history.
For me, this comes out of what I do. I've been in the construction industry for over 20 years, and I rose to the ranks. Once I left law enforcement, I went into construction, and I had to relearn everything and get up to the level of operator, running the heavy equipment and everything. And that's when the recession hit, right around 2006, 2007. So from there, everything went flat. I was very fortunate enough to have been smart to pay off all my bills for a while, so I wasn't hurting too much financially. Then I got hired by the city of San Bernardino, and it kind of like, you evolve through that process and you work your way up to the ranks from there. So as I rose up, I got to the level of inspector back in 2015. I was a construction inspector. So as I'm doing these large commercial projects, that's where a lot of the we call tilt-ups, the large warehouse buildings that are booming across the nation. I think you can't go anywhere without seeing these tilt-up.
Well, they pour the cement and then tilt the wall up. Right.
That's what we call them, tilt-ups, for that reason right there. It's a tilt-up operation. Pour in place and tilt it up and go from there. So as I'm doing this, I'm in my 60s now, so I was only not even 10 years ago. So I'm in my 50s trying to walk some of these 1 million square foot facilities, and I'm feeling it in my knees, my hips, and everything else. So I'm thinking there's got to be something out there. And I've been hearing a little bit about drones back then, and I started reading up on them and everything else. And I'm like, hey, this could help me out as far as monitoring my projects, getting photographs. Even though I was walking them, I was still taking pictures. I was just walking the property. So I said, here, I don't have to do as much walking, but I still get the pictures.
Yeah.
So that
you
was
have to document what you're
right.
seeing.
That's right. So that's what I said. That was my need to get into drones, was that and so forth. So at about, I think it was 2018, 2019, the winter of 2018, I think I bought my first drone. And then I practiced with that, and I bought a Spark. It was the first DJI drone I bought.
Okay.
And then from there, it's been DJI ever since, from that point on. And then I took my Part 107 in March of April 2019, passed that. And then I actually started my business, my own personal business with drones in 2020, right when the pandemic hit and stuff.
Gotcha.
So that's for me. This is part out of a little bit of a necessity, but this is the field I work in. So my niche, as far as using drones, is primarily the mapping, because that's what I know. This is what I do. That's why I tell people that, when I go out to a site, and those who've been out on construction sites, you see all the little sticks up there with the little ribbons floating in the air off the sticks. You see the white, the blue, and the red ones. I know what those mean. I know when I go on a piece of wood and it says it's got a plus or a minus, it's got a number. I know that. I know what's a cut and what a field means and all this kind of stuff, all these different things. So that's what I tell people. For me, that has been my inroad to getting work for my drone. It's not the fact that I have a drone, but my knowledge of the field itself of construction.
Right.
And that's why I tell people, I said, once you learn to speak their language, then they become more relaxed, more comfortable with what you bring to the table.
Confident in you.
Confidence in me.
They trust you because you exhibit that I understand your industry.
Right. So I know a lot of times I see people come on the Facebook groups and everything else. They say, well, hey, I just got a drone and I'm studying for my Part 107 and I want to do this or that, and how do I get to work? I said, sometimes you have to study up, and I always tell people, I said, and a lot of the courses out there are free. That's why I tell people, I said, if you want to, people, especially if I live down in Southeast Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida, I would take every FEMA class online I can get my hands on. Okay. Right. Because that's going to be your foot to get in the door to say, okay, I'm FEMA certified in all these different areas. Like I said, I have a FEMA certification, the 100, 200, and 700 series, which is all about command incident structure and stuff.
Right.
I know who's in charge and who isn't in charge and what they're responsible for, all that kind of good stuff. But like it's, once again, if they say, if I took the time to take these free classes online, okay, I might be somebody who they might want to work with to say, okay, he understands the philosophy of the organization and how it's structured and how it works, that we can put him out here and know that he can be an asset for us flying that drone. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just got to just work your way into it, And like I said, when I had a contract to do a job for the state of California, I had to jump to a lot of additional hoops and everything. But the one thing that made them think I was qualified was my construction background itself.
Right.
It wasn't the fact that, I have a drone and I have this drone or that drone. It's the fact that I understood the construction industry.
Speaking of understanding here, I have a question, and I think probably a lot of other people here do. And I know I've been watching your recent videos, and I understand you recently got into what's called RTK.
Yes.
And can you kind of explain what does that mean? And what's the difference there?
Okay. All of us all know that our drones work off of GPS signals. Okay. Right. RTK, which stands for real-time connectivity, pretty much what it stands for, is based. Oh, excuse me. I've got something else going on. There we go. So what happens is the RTK base station, and then if you live in an area like here in California, we have a large in-trip system, which is basically piggybacking off of the seismic activity monitors in the state of California. is just like having GPS on steroids. Okay, it just adds a bunch more GPS signals to your drone. And the big trick of it is it doesn't take over your drone. It doesn't fly your drone for you. It just gives it more data, more numbers to crunch, which makes it more accurate when it flies. Because what happens is, even though like me, I do a lot of autonomous flying, because doing mapping, that's what you do. You fly grid pattern back and forth, everything
set up
else.
the waypoints
and all that kind of good stuff.
Execute the
mission. So what happens is, even though you set this mission, you set waypoints, the drone does not always fly dead straight on. It may wobble to the left, to the right, all this kind of stuff. By having those extra GPS signals and data coming into your drone, it makes it more dead on the line. So that's what more accuracy.
It involves receivers on the ground.
Yes, you have. Like I say, I bought a base station which transmits the signals to the drone, and like I say, it goes back and forth. It receives and sends out signals simultaneously to the drone to add more accuracy to the maps, because that's what it's all about.
And you use multiple stations?
There are multiple stations. Like where I live at here in the north end of San Bernardino, we have one that sits right behind Cal State San Bernardino. There's another one up in the Cajon Pass as you come down to 15. There's another one there at Glen Helen Parkway as you come out of the Cajon Pass going down to 15.
Right.
And they're spread all across Southern California. I keep a list in my case of all the sites, and it goes up and down from Northern California to Southern California for the most part. Anything that in California, anything that's near a fault line will have a in-trip station nearby. Because for them, for the colleges, they use it for seismic activity.
Sure.
So they get these shifts in the earth, it registers with these stations.
The physics department of the college is monitoring that station.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's their purpose for it. And like I said, it's all government funded and everything else. So like I said, it's free to use here in California. I know some states you have to buy a service fee to use their in-trip stations and everything else. But here in California, it's free because it's government funded through the university system.
Yeah.
So that makes it kind of nice. Now, I have done comparisons. Proximity is always king. The closer you are to a in-trip station, the more accurate and more reliable it is. Like I say, I did a test last week. I was about 10 miles away from one of the stations, and the first battery worked flawless. I came back, all I did was land a drone, change the battery. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Couldn't pick up the in-trip signal at all.
Oh,
I had it from before.
Yeah.
Same spot, nothing moved. All I did was change batteries, and it said, hey, we can't pick up enough GPS satellites for it to work. And one thing is, once you're in RTK mode, the drone will not take off unless it has sufficient RTK connection.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the give and take. That's why I went with the base station myself, because as long as I have that base station, I'm close to it. It's gonna be right there close by me. So I'm not gonna have an issue.
You're generating it yourself.
Right. I'm generating it myself. So I'm not gonna have that problem. Now, using a base station now, this is where my knowledge of construction is. You want to use a surveyor's point of reference on the job site.
Right.
Now there's a lot of ways of getting points of reference. A point of reference can be a monument pin, which is basically a nail with a big old washer on it, nailed into the middle of the street or into the face of a top of a curb, or a lot of other places on properties. Or this is where my knowledge of construction comes in. I don't know if people go to a brand new development site. What is the first thing they put in when you're developing a new site? They put in the storm drain.
I would imagine plumbing.
Yeah, well, you're close. They put in the sewer system and the storm drain system. Okay. So each one of those manholes is a known fixed point. So you can use one of those as your reference point, because they're known fixed points. So the data that you're getting is coming from a known point. So they try to cross-reference everything that has. It says, yeah, I was at this known point at this area on the site right here. And it, like I say, surveyors write what they call a book. And when they do all their measurements on the site, they write all the information, all their GPS coordinates in the book and stuff. And just like you have a legend on a map, surveyors use what they call a book for all their known points on a site and go from there. So like I say, every manhole is listed.
So like getting into surveying, now that's another step. Is that right for you or anyone else wanting to get into this business? I mean, you at a certain point in time, you can't say this is accurate because I'm not a surveyor.
There you go. That is the key. If I was 40 years younger, I would be interested and say, okay, let me stay in school and become a licensed surveyor. That way I can say, yeah, I can set these points. These are the points here. I'm a licensed surveyor by the state of California. I'm legitimate.
Right.
As a regular drone operator, I cannot make that claim. And that's why I tell people all the time, do not advertise that you do survey work.
Right.
You advertise that you do photogrammetry work or you do photo collection data work. Okay. Big difference.
Right.
Same type of activity, but the verbiage and terminology is worlds apart.
Right. That accreditation, that accreditation is what makes it different.
Right.
You know, not that the work is any different.
Yes.
But the onion skin on the wall.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. So a lot of times, if just like when I was in law enforcement, and I acquired my private investigator license on the side. And the big thing with that is you don't make a lot of money being a regular PI. Okay.
No.
But if you align yourself with lawyers, say about 4 or 5 law firms, they'll keep you busy doing work. Especially you got lawyers who do personal injury work and all this kind of stuff like that keeps you out in the field gathering information for them. Doing it by yourself, no. And that's the same thing. By me working for developers or with an engineering firm, I will continue to be busy because they are the ones who actually are getting the work that I add to what they need.
Yeah. So I tell you, you are a great example for me to show to other people that, you know, even if you're not 25 years old and you want to get into the drone industry, you know, I mean, this has only been like 5 years now. Yep. Is that right? 5 or 6 years.
Yep, 5 years. Yeah.
You've been you know, so I mean, it is possible to make this a living. You know, I have to tell you, one of our other members his name's William Jason, and he's a cinematographer in Hollywood. You know, mostly flying Inspires and you know, drones doing that. And you know, I have to tell you, if I was 25 years old, I mean, I would probably, that's the direction I would go into.
Yeah.
To you know, you know, but you know, it takes some not just the knowledge, but the knowledge of the industry.
There you go.
Like you knew the industry.
Yes.
Then you added the knowledge of drones to that, you know, and found this spot that you fit in correctly, you know. So, I mean, that's true. I don't know. William Jason there, he invented Mav mount.
Okay.
You know, the holder for putting an iPad onto a RCN1 kind of thing. That his father was in the aluminum fabrication business and had retired. And he was trying to show a director a better view using his own Mavic 2 at the time to show a director a better angle, and he wanted a better way to mount a bigger iPad onto the unit. So and that's how that industry, his business Mav Mount, got started from that, and so pretty interesting. And we've kept in touch here. He's so he's not quite, he's another young old fart, which they're like John here. There's some it's I like to say it's an attitude. It's not necessarily you don't have to have a chronological credentials to be an old fart, as long as you don't care what somebody else thinks of you, and you're doing what you think is right, then you're an old fart.
There you go. I was going to say a hi out to Maddie. I understand, Maddie, you got your first drone commercial gig coming up soon.
Oh, wonderful! That's I have been hopefully mentoring Maddie, and my philosophy is you have to find a job you love, and then you're never going to have a day of work again. You're only going to be doing stuff you love. And I think that's as I think you'll agree with me, that's what we all need to do. It's
kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting you say that, Bob, because like for me, my day job is I'm a computer programmer, web developer. I mean, that's what I do for work. The drone thing is purely a hobby for me, which is great. But I do feel like if, say, I were to take it to the level that Dre is working on, at some point, it's like your hobby ends up becoming your job. Like, you're not just farting around there flying for fun. You're flying for work. If I was flying for work all the time, I wonder how often I would feel like, say, coming home after days of work and then going out and flying for fun. I mean, it changes things. He's shaking his head. He's like, because it would change things, right? Even if you make what you love into your job, then it's not the same anymore. Like, you still might enjoy it, but then it's really not a hobby anymore.
Right.
So it's a fine line.
And that's why a lot of people get surprised at me. So, Dre, when you fly for fun, I said, I don't fly for fun because I put so much into what I do with drones as a work thing. And I don't even do it full time. I'm like you. I have another profession. I work for the city as a safety officer. But even there, I combine my use of drones on different projects within the city.
Sure.
So I might use that as my practice time, because the city, they're just thrilled that I'm doing it. They ain't gonna pay nobody, what they're already paying me. So I use that as my testing part, as far as doing little stick move maneuvers and all this kind of stuff to keep my skills up. So when I go out to a regular paying gig for myself, I'm not rusty, because like I say, flying autonomously is kind of like, okay, my hardest part of that is before I leave the house, do I have all my controllers charged? Do I have all my batteries charged? If it's a mission that I develop, did I hit all the waypoints? Are the altitudes set just right so I don't crash into anything? All that kind of stuff. That's all mental. Because when I get out to the site, it's like, okay, home point set, beep, hit the button, it's gone. So everything I do is pre-prep work. And when I get to the site, just let the drone go do what it does. But like I say, it's about how you incorporate. Like I say, John's profession in a computer programmer translates into being an asset to him with his drones.
That's how he can do beta flight.
That's what I'm saying. The beta flight. Even though I heard him talk about how nerve-wracking it was at first doing soldering, but now it's kind of like he understands it's like this is not much more different than doing coding. Okay.
Yes.
Just like doing coding. This, and this.
If then,
it's relatable fields. That's what I'm saying. Just relatable fields that actually might not be the actual same manual work, but it's relatable fields that your mind gets into that gear and says, okay, let me process a certain way, just like I process other things a certain way.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
I was going to say I've been in the graphic art business since the early 80s. You know, I mean, that was my third Macintosh right there, you know. So, I mean, I've, you know, I was doing graphic artwork before there was a computer to do it on. And, you know, setting type and cutting it out and laying it out and everything. But I mean, I still to this day enjoy, you know, taking somebody saying, you know, I need to put together a brochure correctly, and I've got all these details, but I can't make it understandable, you know, and where I can take all of their parts and put it together in a cohesive way and an artistic way, you know, to put it out. I mean, I'll sit here at my computer for, you know, till 2-3 o'clock in the morning working on a project because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
you know,
the time you spend, you feel like time that you dread.
Yes, no, and figuring out web stuff. I know, John, if you're doing web programming, I've been a Divi person. I don't know if you know Divi, the web builder. It builds on top of WordPress. Divi design, Divi builder.
I'm not particular with that.
Yeah, but that's been my avenue for quite a number of years.
Gotcha. Yeah. Listen, technology. Yeah, the tech field. Bouncing off what Dre was saying. Anecdotally, I know so many people in FPV who their job is IT, programming, some sort of computer field in tech, because it really does translate. And it's not even necessarily the programming aspect, because I've never done an ounce of, like, I've never written a piece of Betaflight code or any of that stuff. But Betaflight has a command line interface, and there's he's shaking. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's commands that you get used to typing in, and the numerics. Like, so many people get confused about the serial ports on a drone. The serial ports start from 0, because in computing we start from 0, and it's 0, 1, 2, 3. I remember in college that was a big thing. In computing, we don't start from 1, we start from 0. So that screws up people all the time with Betaflight, because they think I soldered my thing to port 1. No, you soldered it to port 0. So that's just an example where something in IT crosses over. Little nugget of something in computers crosses over. But yeah, it's been plus having the skills, the problem solving skills. Because you're not staying in IT or development or programming if you get to an issue and you just freeze and you're like, I don't know what to do. You gotta be good with your Google foo. You gotta be able to dive in and search to solve that. Like, that's 90% of the job, is just being able to search for the right things to find what you're looking for. And that's so important, but it's not a skill that a lot of people have. It's not a skill that like, I know people just, they see a message on help, my computer has an error. What it's like, okay, what does the error say? What have you tried Googling for what the error says?
Google that error code, you know.
But people don't even go that far. So, you know, if you don't, I would say if you don't at least have that mindset right now, it's very hard to survive in traditional FPV. You've got to be willing to dig under the hood into things every now and then, and you know, search for solutions to weird problems that not everyone's going to have, because we're flying all these different configurations.
True with every occupation, I think.
Yep.
at the moment. Problem solving here is, a whole lot easier. I don't have to go to the library and look up an encyclopedia to find an answer to something I did 30 years ago, and, so, I mean, it's this idea. I taught graphic design here at the college here for 18 years. And one of the parts is that, you have to keep learning. And today you can type your question into YouTube and a 14-year-old will come on the screen and explain it to you.
It's amazing, right?
It is. It truly is.
It's funny that you bring that up, Bob, because you and I in the same age bracket, and we know when we grew up, or when we first, I don't know when you got married, but when I first got married, one of the significant things you wanted to buy for your household was what? A set of encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And like I say, nowadays you just buy a computer. That is your set of encyclopedias, because you can, like I said, you can research all that information right online.
Yeah, I raised a son, from the time he was 7 years old is when I married his mother till, I was concerned that, he needs to do his homework and he needs assets to do that.
Right. He needs the resources. There you go.
Yes.
Believe it or not, I can relate to this. I'm 34 years old, so I'm sort of that in-between period where, the internet was still sort of up and coming when I was younger. So we had sets of encyclopedias, and at home we had a set. So and that's how we looked stuff up. And then we did have
that's how you write term papers.
Yep.
I think when we finally did get a personal computer in 1999, 1998, something like that, that's when we got Microsoft Encyclopedia or something or other on a CD. And then it stopped working because the CD got scratched. So we ended up having to use the actual physical encyclopedias for a long time. There was no Wikipedia. There was, you still had to look up a lot of stuff, obviously, from a quote unquote professional source.
Yes.
Well, like Bob was saying, though, by us, like I say, when we grew up, having encyclopedias were the standard. That was a standard unless you had to go to the local library. But like I say, I want, like Bob was saying, I want to make sure my children, which my oldest is older than you, John. He just turned 38 last week. And you want to make sure they had all the advantages that you may not have. Like I said, I bought the first computer into my household in 1988. Packard Bell, 8088 dual floppy drive. Bought it from the original Costco, which was Price Club back then and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the first. And like I said, I debated about that purchase for about 2 years prior, because at the time, what was it? The game system, Radio Shack
Atari?
had out. Not Atari. It was like something else. The Radio Shack had put out that ran off dual cassette tapes, but it was like a first type of home type computer that run off the cassette tapes and all this
TRS-80.
Yeah, it might have been something like that.
Yep.
And I kept debating. I said, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I kept thinking, I said, I'm looking for something else. And then when those IBM clones started coming off, and Packard Bell was one of the leaders in the industry, them and Compaq back then were leaders in the industry.
Compaq, that was our first machine, I think. The Compaq.
Yeah, so that was the thing, and like I said, we joke about the old sounds of a modem, the screeching and the squawking, and
56K and 28K baud. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and a 9-dot printer going all this kind of stuff. So
there's one right behind me.
Yeah,
that's the Apple Image Writer printer right there.
Okay,
that came with my. That came with my first Macintosh in '84, the dot matrix printer right there. Yes. Now I bought an Apple IIe in 1981, and that was the state of the art. And I learned how to program in BASIC, at the time, and. that was a lot of fun. But
right.
so anyway, I'm going to wind it up, guys. I appreciate you both coming on. Here, Dray, I someday we're gonna get together here.
Yes, we are.
I do travel down to Southern California and visit my family occasionally. I have 2 nieces that still live in the area. Well, one, they're twins. One still lives in Chino Hills, and the other one now lives in Pasadena.
Okay.
And she's a programmer for United Bank. She graduated in mathematics from University of San Diego, UC San Diego.
Yeah.
And so I get down there occasionally to see them, and we're gonna have to make a time to get together.
Yes, I would look forward to that. I look forward to that and stuff.
Yes.
No problem at all. Yep.
All right. Thank you again, John. Anything you would like to end up with here?
Oh no, man. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on. It was great to be on. Like I said, it's my first time being on Old Farts with Drones. So really appreciate it. And Dre, it's good to be on with you, man.
Same here. I'm glad I don't have to feel bad anymore.
We have a peaceful.
I'm sorry.
We have generated this
that way. I'm still over here thinking I have no idea what's going on, but that's good, man. No, you're always cool. We're good. We're cool. Everything's good in the Old Farts with Drones world, right, Bob?
All right.
That's right. That's right. Stay peaceful. All right, everyone. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you all soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.